Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist, that's a CBT therapist, and a licensed mental health counselor. Welcome back to my channel. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers, my viewers for your comments, your interesting comments, mindful comments. You all motivate me in trying to figure out what could have happened in this Idaho Moscow 4 case. We all want the correct justice to be served for these 4 precious victims and their families. Today I'd like to talk about something that is actually important that I don't see actually anyone talking about. And I think it's really important. That's why I always believe we need to go back to the beginning of this case, no matter what. I personally believe that the truth lies always in the beginning of the case. There's a lot of facts, there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of speculations in every case. But this is one case that has really got the world's attention. How could 4 young, vibrant, beautiful, intelligent, 21-year-old students be brutally unalived? When you look at the pictures of the 4 victims and the 2 surviving roommates, I believe that picture was taken in Taylor Avenue in the apartments, because you can clearly see the steps of the apartments, and I personally believe it's the 2nd floor. I've always wondered who lives there, because the 6 people that were in the photo was obviously the 4 victims and the surviving 2 roommates. And it was around, I believe, 2, 3 in the evening, the picture was taken. And I just find it interesting that the picture was taken in Taylor Avenue apartments, because they had the 5 roommates, and he had actually the property to themselves in 1122 Kings Road, which is obviously no longer there, it's demolished. And I find that to be really sad. I remember when they came with the decision to demolish the property, I thought that some miracle would happen and the property wouldn't be demolished, but that did not happen. Although KAYLEE's family, and I believe Xana's father, were requesting the property not to be demolished, because let's not forget, this is a property that this horrific event happened in. There was 3 unidentified DNAs in that property. There was many other things that could have been valuable, I mean like in evidence. And let's not forget that the jury would maybe have wanted to go inside the property and check from floor to floor what you can hear, what you can see, the angles of the rooms, the kitchen, the sliding door, the front door. Like, if I was allowed to go to that property and just check, I would have tried to get people there. It may sound strange, but make them scream loudly, just say on the 3rd floor and 2nd floor, to see if people on the 1st floor and 2nd floor and the neighbors could have heard the screams. There was 3 unidentified male DNAs, so that is obviously not the surviving roommates, and that wouldn't be obviously the victims. Others it wouldn't have been mentioned. Now today I'd like to discuss about something that I have always believed that it was extremely, extremely important. If you all remember in the beginning of the case, they said that Mr. Brian Christopher Koberger, aka BK, actually came back to the property. I believe it was somewhere between 9:13 to 9:30 something in the morning. So this was way before, a couple of hours before the police, 911, were even called. I'm sure they tracked that to his phone. His phone must have pinged in the areas, or however the FBI and the police tracked him. My question is, if that is actually true that he was tracked there, let's play devil's advocate. We all want justice. We want the correct justice for these victims. That's my main priority, my main aim. I've always said, and I've never shied away to say that BK could be innocent, but BK could be guilty too. I'm not a person who says actually that BK is 100% innocent, because I find loopholes with BK. Something is not right with his alibi, which he took time to come out with the alibi. Now, this is all speculation, and this is all in my opinion. So this is for educational purpose only. Now let's get back to the fact that BK came back to the property. If that is true, why would he come back? I wonder, did he come back? Just say, example, if he lent, this will sound a bit strange, but just tag along with me for a while, and then you'll understand my thinking process, because I want to think in each and every direction what could have actually happened. So if BK was involved and he came back to the scene, like the police are saying, why would he come back to the scene? Did he realize that his knife sheath was left at the crime scene if he was involved? Or, this is what sometimes I wonder. BK asked to speak to one of the surviving roommates, and that is BF. So for him to be wanting to speak to BF, saying that BF has exculpatory evidence, could it be possible that BK knew one of the surviving roommates? Just say example, he knew BF because he mentioned her, he didn't mention DM. What if BF felt unsafe in the house? What if she knew that something would eventually kick out in the house? Something not as terrific as what happened, but that they had enemies. What if, this is just my speculation, what if BF asked BK, Brian Christopher Koberger, for help in the form of, like, do you have, I can't actually say the word in YouTube, or the word many people saying it. I'm trying to really be careful here. What if she asked him for something to defend herself? And what if he gave her the knife? And what if the people, just say suspects, who came to the house, what if one of the roommates tried to, one of the not surviving, but one of the victims tried to defend themselves with the knife, and that could have been the reason the knife sheath was there, and somebody, one of the suspects that did it, took the knife and used it on them and took the weapon with them, the K-bar. I'm just thinking as a thought. At times when I think about that, I think that it could be possible since he asked for BF. But then at times I think that is a far stretch. These are just my thoughts that I think of. But my question is, why did BK come back to the scene? Was he involved? I personally believe that there were many people who were involved in these crimes. I don't believe that it was one person who went inside, decided to delete 4 people, leave 2 surviving roommates, and leave a dog. For the person to have done that, if it was one single person, it seems like the coroner herself said that it was really horrific and brutal. We've heard all kind of rumors about how bad the scene was and what they did to the victims. We heard that actually from KAYLEE's father and mother. So if these victims, may they rest in peace, had so much injuries, let's think about it. One person couldn't have done it, because that means he took time with each and every victim, and that doesn't make sense with the timing. That means the person was confident to go into the house, do all these horrific things, and walk out without any consequences. That is hard for me to believe. So why did BK come back? Was it because of the knife sheet? The mainstream news media have always, and many experts in law enforcement have always explained it in this manner, that BK came back because he wanted to see if the ambulances and if the police and all were there. He wanted to see. So hurtful to say about the damage that he's done. I find that hard to believe. We are talking about a 27-year-old man, he is 28 now, who has a master's degree, bachelor's degree in psychology, was one of the best students, top student under the professor Catherine Ramsey, who's written many books, who's written books about SKs. So I find it really strange that BK would just come and delete 4 people when he knows that that house is usually packed, since they said that he was talking that he's been around the area for 12 times. But I don't believe that either. The 12 times that he came there, he could have come there because he knew one of the roommates. Why is he asking for specifically to speak to Bethany Funk? I showed you all the Venmos. If you'll go back to my channel, I believe a month ago, that was from BF is Venmos. There was words like COKE. There was other words that looked like something was going on in the house. We have a taxi driver, a cab driver, who told the local news in Idaho, Moscow, that this was a party house. He said that he drove many students there to purchase rugs, with the D word, if you understand what I mean. Now, we all know that cab drivers, wherever you go, would know people's personal life kind of to a limit. They drive people home, people are intoxicated, they'll be talking in the car. Maybe he understood by speaking to the customers, or maybe he saw that the customers that he drove to the house just went in and came out quickly. So the way he spoke about it, it came on the newspaper. He said that this was a rug place. I hate to say that, but think about that. Then we have Brian Christopher Koberger, who had addictions in heroin, which is really serious. He was in that lifestyle for 5 years, and he got out clean. Thank God. For him to have been in that lifestyle, I always wonder, my question is, could he have relapsed? And if he relapsed, was he there in that house? Could he have come there 12 times to purchase something? The reason that I say that is reading BF is Venmos, although they were from 2021 and 2022, and listening to what the cab driver told the news, the mainstream news, about this being a rug place, I wonder if BRYAN came there to purchase something and something went wrong. It's just my thought. Could he have come back to get revenge? But even if he came back to get revenge, trigger warning, why would he delete 4 people? What could make someone go in such a rage to do a quadruple? It's not one person. It's not 2 people. Mind you, it's not 3 people. It's 4 people. So I want to know why he came back. I find that to be strange, and I'll just play this news clip for you.
Out of the affidavit in the University of Idaho stabbings. Now we are learning through evidence that the accused killer returned to the scene of the crime.
Fox 13's Matthew Smith joins us now with those fresh new details.
So this affidavit, only unredacted document that we've gotten so far from the judge in this case. The only thing that's public, really. Its 18 pages are full of unsettling new details, and among the most jarring, the fact that police believe Bryan Kohberger, the suspect, returned to the house hours after the murders took place. Now, investigators pieced that information together by tracking Kohberger's cell phone data. They were able to map his movements over several months by pinning which towers his cell phone was connecting with. Now, overnight on November 13th, when Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves were killed, data shows that Kohberger's phone was leaving his apartment in Pullman around 2:50 in the morning. But almost immediately, the phone cuts off from cell phone service. Investigators think that was a deliberate move by him to not be caught. But security cameras pick up a white Hyundai Elantra, just like his, driving up to the victim's home around 4 a.m. The cell phone reconnects to service around 4:50 that morning. At that point, it's traveling just south of Moscow when it returns to Kohberger's apartment. Now, fast forward to 9 a.m., the phone's in motion once again, but this time it stays on for the entire trip, and cell phone data positions it near the scene of the crime for a short while later. At 9:12, police believe Kohberger was lingering in that area for at least 10 minutes. The affidavit doesn't say what exactly he would have been doing, but he likely wouldn't have been disturbed, and we know that because it would be several more hours before police arrived at the home. Now, retired Seattle police homicide detective Cloyd Steger says that this move fits with profile of somebody who thinks they're simply too smart to get caught.
He is a narcissist, and he is, I don't know enough to know about him if he's a sociopath or a psychopath. But, yeah, the boy ain't right.
And one of the other things that stands out, Kohberger just went about his life. In fact, we know he was at an Albertsons grocery store near Clarkston, Washington around 12:45 in the afternoon that day. He was at an Albertsons grocery store near Clarkston, Washington around 12:45 in the afternoon that day. Security cameras don't pick up any obvious injuries or peculiar behavior. He just continued about his business, shopping, paying for items, and taking off. It's also worth noting that Kohberger says he believes he will be exonerated in the end of all this. He's due back in court January 12th.
Now you heard that clearly. That is very interesting. If Kohberger came back at 9:15 in the morning, the mainstream media is trying to tell us that the police believe that he was trying to outsmart them, that he was such a sociopath or psychopath, like the FBI experts said. We don't use terms like psychopath. The right word is antisocial personality disorder. We can't just pass out words like that until a person is evaluated by a psychiatrist. They need a psychiatrist evaluation. They need therapy. There's a lot to go on. Takes months, maybe years even, to really understand what mental illness the person is suffering of. Because antisocial personality disorder, aka psychopath, I hate that term, is a mental illness. So did he come back, did BK come back to the scene because he wanted to check maybe if the police, the ambulance, if everyone arrived? And when he came back, he saw nothing and got disappointed and left? That is a thought. That is their thoughts. But then what is interesting is what the reporter said later. He said that he went to Albertson, he continued doing his shopping like nothing happened, and he stayed in Pullman, Washington. Now, I find that fascinating because any human being, God forbid, who does such, this is a mass murder, mass M-U-R-D-E-R-S. When somebody does such a horrific crime, why would they hang around the area? Why would they hang around the area? That doesn't make sense. And let's be mindful that Kohlberger was there right up to 28 December when he decided to take the trip with his father, which was already planned from before. It wasn't something that he decided last minute and said, Dad, come and we'll drive back home for Christmas. I doubt that. That means he stayed there for Thanksgiving in Pullman, Washington. He continued being a teacher, although some of his students said that he was acting weird. So my question is, why would someone stay for 7 weeks? Why would they do that? Unless they're really a narcissistic, unless they're really an antisocial personality disorder person, or sociopath who doesn't have any emotions, any empathy, and who just wants basically to be caught or oversmart the police. That could be one thing. But I find it fascinating that Mr. Kohlberger stayed there for another 7 weeks. That could, if I look at it at the other sense, why would he stay there 7 weeks? Maybe because he wasn't involved. That could be a possibility. My question is, the police and the FBI were tracking Kohlberger's phone. What about all the people who were there at the area? At Banfield. I showed you first on my channel how Saeed was watching pictures that look like a blonde young woman was sitting on the bed. And the picture did not look right. You'll understand what I mean. It looked like crime scene pictures. And then, a couple of months later, down the line, KAYLEE, his mother and father said KAYLEE was found in the sitting position. I already showed that to you all before the parents said that. So the parents basically confirmed what Saeed was watching. Then we had Joe Vito at the corner club and a couple of others, all taking out their phone device at the same time and watching pictures that look like blurry figures, but you could see it looked like 3 or 2 men. Another thing I would like to discuss about is there was a Twitch stream going on at the grub truck, which usually goes on. I personally find that to be really, really concerning. Not only because of the quadruples. The live stream of the Twitch can get the people, the clients, customers who are buying food, all are intoxicated for mostly, because we have Mr. Joe Vito saying that this is the place where all zombies come after us. Like after coming from the corner club and pubs and all, they all gather around there. Now people are actually filming the Twitch on the grub truck. Thousands of people are watching it. Any person who has hate, rage, obsession over the girls could have been watching the Twitch stream. We know that Idaho, Moscow has, I don't know how to say this, they have different kind of cults or maybe church groups that are really, I wouldn't say extremists, but that have something in that line. What if they were watching the Twitch stream? What if it was against their principles, how these youngsters were acting? Because let's not forget, the 20,000 people in Idaho, Moscow, the students, come around from different places in the United States. This was a party venue. We've heard that from many people. We've heard that on Court TV. We've heard that on Law and Crime. We've heard that from many mainstream medias. Neighbors were being disturbed because there was a neighbor who clearly said that she used to put on her headsets every night because there were loud party noises and screamings going on. Now we saw ourselves, we witnessed and heard when the police came and knocked at the door. Once they spoke to Hunter and another guy from the Sigma Chi, and they were saying, yeah, who lives here? When the officer asked, and they both were acting dumb. They weren't replying, and then the officer said, stop lying. I've been a cop for 20 years. Let me speak to the person who lives here, and he spoke to Maddie over the phone. The same night, they came later on and they spoke to Zana, if you'll remember. What was going on in that house is important to know. Because let's not forget, in the beginning of this case, if you'll remember clearly, they said it was a targeted crime. They said one of the 4 victims, or maybe more, could have been the target. Then we had the prosecutor, Mr. William Thompson, who said in an interview that I don't believe the victims are the target. It was the residents, the house. Then they changed it later on and said nobody was a target, or the house wasn't even a target. Then there was rumors and speculations. It was on the mainstream media, actually, facts, that it was said that KAYLEE had a stalker. May she rest in peace. We saw Brian Enton going to the vape shop and talking to the owner, and the owner said himself, he's seen these girls at least 6 times, and he said that they all were surrounded, Maddie and all the girls were surrounded and looking after KAYLEE because they said KAYLEE had a stalker. Now, I believe the guy who owns the vape shop. The reason I believe him is, why would he lie? He knows these girls. They told him out of concern that KAYLEE had a stalker. So think about one thing. The KAYLEE case about a stalker, the house being the target, like William Thompson said, and then we have the chief and what was the other one called? Lanier. He was the colonel or something. They both said that it was a targeted crime. So whether the house was a target or whether the 4 victims were the target, something was going on in that house. So my question today is, was BK involved? Why did he come back at 9:15? Did he come back because maybe he lent his knife to someone in the house? And when he heard about what happened, he thought, I'm going to be accused because of my knife, go get it. Or was he actually there? He did it with other people maybe, and then he came to collect his knife, but he saw it was too late. But that is a bit difficult for me to believe, because if BK did these crimes, That means he was bold enough to go to a house with 6 people in it. And if he forgot his knife sheath, it wouldn't have been difficult. At 9:15, nobody was there. He had the whole time, if he did these crimes between 4 to 4:20, the man would have realized that he didn't have his knife sheath. Now, let me take it a step further. Think about one thing. We've watched plenty of movies. I live in the UK, where knife crime, trigger warning, is one of our biggest weaknesses. We're always worried for our teens, for our families, because of the KNIFE crimes. So now picture this. If he came with a K-bar or a large knife, trigger warning. Just say that he did it. He went and brutally deleted 4 people. The thing would have been dripping. He's holding in his hand, and then he's walking off and running to his car. They didn't find any evidence in his car, and he drove off. He has the thing in his hand. Wouldn't he clock on and think, wow, let me go back and get it at once? I don't think he would just take it off, put it near Maddie, continue doing what he's doing, and then just go with the thing in his hand. Because that is obviously dangerous. He's going to get caught. And not only that, there's a reason there is that sheet. The sheet is to protect the thing so that the thing doesn't injure you. So that, my friends, is the issue for me. But why did he come back at 9:15? Was he called back to the house? Or was he maybe called by one of the surviving roommates, just like they called Hunter Johnson? Did they call him to frame him? Did they call him maybe to help them to clean up the scene? Let's not forget, 8 hours. If we go according to the timeline, in the beginning that they said that this happened between 3 to 4, then we are talking about 9 hours that they did not call 911. What is so uncomfortable for me to understand, and that triggers me, and that is baffling, is why would you not call the police? Because you can't be in shock for 8 to 9 hours. They would have needed to go to the toilet. DM would have definitely needed to go to the toilet. So what was she doing for 8 hours? Could it be possible that the house, like William Thompson said, the resident was the target? Maybe there was something there, like rugs, that shouldn't have been there. But then it wouldn't take them 8 hours to get whatever is in the house out. Were they cleaning up? Allegedly. Were they staging the scene? Allegedly. Just a question. There was a Vans diamond shoe footprint. Where did that come from? I found it interesting that one of the 3 young men, besides Saeed, the tall, skinny guy, had on Vans shoes. You have Saeed, in fact, when I checked, he had on Vans shoes too. People have said DM wears Vans shoes. But I'm sure the surviving roommates would be thoroughly checked in the beginning. We had even Chief Fry. That is a word I keep on repeating, guys, that I can't get over. We had the chief himself telling ABC News when they asked him, so were the surviving roommates injured? He said, no. So she said, why didn't they call 911? So he said, that's what we're trying to investigate. So she asked, were the right word is, just hold on. She said, was the witnesses there when this happened? And the chief turns around and says clearly, Chief Fry, he changed his voice. He said it in a firm way. I did not say that they were witnesses. I did not say that the surviving roommates were witnesses. I said they were just there. Now let that sink in. If they are not witnesses and they are just there, what were they? Because Chief Fry took it upon himself to correct the professional reporter from ABC by saying, I did not say there were witnesses. He means you're saying the word witnesses. I ain't saying the word witnesses. They were just there. So that means the chief knew from the start that something was not right with the surviving roommates, in my opinion, allegedly. Otherwise, if you are the chief and you are in charge of the police, what's it called? The police office or whatever, you're in charge of the whole police who work for you in Idaho, Moscow, and you came to the scene and Officer or Colonel Linear, Captain Linear came there to the scene, and many other professional detectives came to the scene, and then later on the FBI came 5 days later to the scene. Why would you say the surviving roommates, I didn't say they were witnesses, they were just there? That means, in my opinion, you didn't trust them from the start, Chief. When did these 2 surviving roommates become a witness, sir? Because in the beginning, you said they weren't witnesses. Make that make sense. I would advise everyone to go back to the press conference and listen to the questions that have been asked. Why would the chief say, correct the reporter by saying, I didn't say they were witnesses, they were just there? What were they doing there for 8 hours? What were they doing there for 9 hours? You can't be in a frozen shock for 9 hours. And it makes me believe, if you think about it psychologically, you could be in a shock, but for you to just lock your room and stay there for 8 or 9 hours, and it leaked out from the grand jury that the 2 roommates were texting each other, allegedly, even if they weren't texting each other, they were hearing what was going on. People are being unlived. They will be yelling. There will be a chaotic scene. DM heard a man said, I'm here to help. That means somebody's in the house who isn't supposed to be there. She saw allegedly a man with bushy eyebrows who was 5'11" or 5'10". BK is 6'1" or 6'2". So that description doesn't suit him. Why did the surviving roommates not call 911? DM saw the guy with the bushy eyebrows leaving the house. Why wouldn't you call? Who did she call? Could Hunter have been there from the beginning? We don't know. Were other fraternities and sororities there from the beginning? Just a question. Who was at the crime scene before the police came there? Is BK part of the people who did these horrific crimes? Because I personally don't believe it was one person. Or is he just a man, innocent man, who was doing his shopping, like the reporter said? He went to Albertson. They're saying that he went on with his life and pretended nothing happened. Maybe nothing actually happened according to him, because maybe he didn't do anything. We know that Idaho, Moscow, and Washington Pullman, the 2 universities, are just 10 minutes away from each other. We've heard that the people in Washington, Pullman, come always to Idaho, Moscow for shopping and all. So could BK have just come there because he knows someone in the area? Does he know the surviving roommates? Let's not forget the police at the start were searching for suspect or suspects with the S. Occupant or occupants in a white car. The model of the car was 2011 to 2013. BK drives a 2015. Make this make sense? BK saying that Miss Bethany Funk has exculpatory evidence. She lives in the first floor. Did she see something? Did she hear something? I've mentioned this many times, and if you go back to my channel and see the previous clips, you will notice something. There was a tripod that was recording behind the house. It was from, the people were from Illinois, Chicago. And the next day when they checked the recording, they saw a blonde woman, a blonde female, running hysterically from the house, allegedly. They put it on Facebook, and that was at 2 a.m. Let's not forget what E's mother said. 2 a.m. is the hardest time for a family. What happened at 2 a.m.? Let's not forget, the Chapins are triplets. There are 3 of them. This is a small town, a small community. Many people knew of the quadruples before 911 was called. So could it be possible that Hunter, E's brother, called his mom and said, "Mom, E's unalived"? Because why would the mother say 2 a.m. is the hardest time for a family? Let's not forget, the Chapins are the only family we know of who took a autopsy for their son. Not the Spokane autopsy that was taken for the 4 victims. All the hands were bagged for future evidence because Zana was defending herself. May she rest in peace. KAYLEE was defending herself. So they bagged their hands, and I would love to know the results of that. But if they bagged their hands, and if it was self-defense, like we've heard in the affidavit, then Zana would have definitely scratched and pulled the person's hair to survive and scratch her face. So she would have had, she and KAYLEE and whoever defended themselves, may they rest in peace, would have had DNA cells. And they would have known by now that it was BK. That is the reason I don't believe at times that it was BK who did it. Something happened at the Sigma Chi fraternity. I've always said that. Pay attention. Pay attention to the beginning. The Sigma Chi fraternity was under investigation. Why were they under investigation? You remember the president of the Sigma Chi? He said clearly, "We don't have cameras. We don't have dash cameras. We don't have doorbell cameras. So we wouldn't have seen anything." And he said, "We told that to the FBI." When BRYAN Enton asked him further questions, he said, "I have to go for a class. I'm late." What happened at that party? Could it be true what the 4chan mentioned about the Davids, allegedly, about the beef? They said this beef was brewing since fall. Think about that. That makes the most sense. That shows clearly motive. Why would Why would BK, who has no motive with these 4 victims, who doesn't even know them, why would he come all the way and do this? This man has not had a criminal record. Let's not come out with the police statements that in Pennsylvania, BK, when he was under addictions, stole his sister's iPhone. That is a crime, but that's a family problem. Besides that, he's never had a criminal record. So why would he just go, Amor could just go and do this horrific crime? Why would he do that? It makes more sense for me that there was a fight in the Sigma Chi, like it was said. That definitely makes sense, because pay attention to what Saeed was watching. I've seen pictures of Saeed parting with Zana and DM. He knows these girls, he knows E. Why was Hunter Johnson called before 911? Make this make sense. There were many people who knew this house. There were many people who partied in this house. There was a lot of DNA in this house. I believe that's the reason they demolished the house, which is a red flag. Why would you demolish the house when the jury hasn't even, and the court hasn't even started? Are they trying to tell us that none of the neighbors heard screaming, yelling, people defending themselves, fighting for their life? This doesn't make sense. Maddie's coat was found in the bushes. I showed you that from the beginning. What happened? We heard Mr. Jack S. say, "You know they're going to get you for that, Maddie." And within a couple of hours, Maddie was gone. E was gone. Xana was gone. And KAYLEE was gone. Another thing that interests me is what happened the day before. KAYLEE was at home for a month. Why? Was she in some kind of fear, besides the fact that she's moving to Austin? Why was KAYLEE's LinkedIn account deleted 13 hours after the unalivings? The reason I keep on asking all these whys and all these questions is because they are important. The LinkedIn account, I believe, is very important in this case. Is that the reason KAYLEE had a stalker? Could it have something to do with money? Because people can make large transactions, large deposits from LinkedIn to another account. Who was running KAYLEE's phone device? I've heard some people saying the family has a phone. No. The family has a family plan on their phones. That's how her sister Alivira found out of KAYLEE's LinkedIn account, and when she tried to show someone, it was logged off, it was deleted. Could this have something to do with the job KAYLEE got in Austin, Texas? I'm just asking. I wanted to share with you all what KAYLEE put up on October 11th, 2022. She said, "Austin roommates. Looking for a roommate to move in with me from February to June. I'm coming from Idaho, so I'm not familiar with the area. So open to living anywhere in the Austin area. I'm a 21-year-old girl with a really sweet 20-pound dog. If anyone is looking for a place from February to June in Austin, let me know. I believe she put this up in her Facebook. Looking for a roommate to move in with me from February to June. That's like 5 months. I'm coming from Idaho, so I'm not familiar with the area. So open to living anywhere in the Austin area. I'm a 21-year-old girl with a really sweet 20-pound dog. We know that's Murphy. If anyone is looking for a place from February to June in Austin, let me know. Okay, so after reading this post, looking for a roommate to move in with me from February to June. I'm coming from Idaho, so I'm not familiar with this area, is what KAYLEE said. She said, I'm a 21-year-old girl with a 20-pound dog. If anyone's looking for a place between February to June in Austin, Texas, let me know. Let's not forget, it was said that KAYLEE had a stalker. Did someone start stalking KAYLEE because of this post? Just a question. Let's not forget, it was said KAYLEE had a stalker. The police debunked that, but was that properly investigated is the question. KAYLEE's parents said that she got the worst injuries. They said she and Maddie, may the rest in peace, did not have the same injuries. If that is true, and then think about the guy in the vape shop. He said that the girls told him, Maddie and the girls told him, we always walk around with KAYLEE because she has a stalker. Why would he lie about that? I believe KAYLEE had a stalker. Did she get a stalker? Did someone get obsessed with KAYLEE through social media? Then you have the fact that KAYLEE's LinkedIn account was deleted and shut down 13 hours after the unalivings. That would be at that night. Did Lyndon put down her LinkedIn account? I doubt. It was just a couple of hours after the unalivings. Did someone in the house have KAYLEE's passwords? And like I said, you can actually do big transactions with money from LinkedIn account. Or someone in Austin, maybe. Someone in a different state stalking KAYLEE. Then you have the Twitch stream in the grub truck that everyone was watching. What was really going on? Was Bryan Kohberger involved? Could he have been rented to do these horrific crimes? Why was the police searching for a 2011 to 2000 Hyundai, not a 2015? DM said somebody was 5'11", a Kohberger 6'1" or 6'2". Doesn't make sense. Let me know what you think in the comments. And have a lovely week. Thank you. May the victims rest in peace. Condolence to the families. And may the correct justice be served.